Hi guys, and welcome to my 3D layered watercolor painting that I'm working on today. I've been thinking about this kind of idea for a while now, where I could break up different elements of a painting and then separate them out so they would almost have the illusion of depth. Well, they would have depth, and it would help push it so that it would look a lot more dynamic and interesting. And I'm excited that I finally got around to doing a painting this kind of way. So yeah, I do want to give a really quick thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. I love working with them. I say this all the time when I do work with them, but I love their product. They're an online learning community specifically focused around creative type endeavors. You can find all sorts of classes. I believe it's thousands of classes based on creative things, business things. And for this, I always like to go in thinking about a new kind of project that I can do when I'm working with Skillshare. And this one seemed like the perfect fit, where I've been really just thinking about doing a layered painting like this, some more paper crafting kind of a piece. So I was able to go into Skillshare and I found a couple of classes that were perfect for helping me get some ideas and figure out how I wanted to approach this kind of concept and what tools I needed. So I will link to the two classes specifically that I looked at over on Skillshare down in the description if you're curious. And I do also have a link that'll give you 2 months free to the first 500 people down in the description as well for Skillshare. I highly recommend going and checking it out and see if it works for you, if you enjoy it. I certainly love the classroom type environment. But anyways, let's just jump right in and start working on figuring out how to do this. So the first step that I did was I actually went out and bought a shadow box for this. I decided to go with a plain black one. I had an idea in my head of what kind of picture I wanted to begin with, and this one just really, I think, suited it. So that's important. I always like to have, if it's going to be specifically for a frame or framed, then I like to have the frame in hand as I'm working on it. And this one, like I said, is a shadow box, so that allows me to have a lot of depth. So I could play with spacing and all of that good stuff. So if you're thinking about this, shadow boxes are what you're probably going to be looking for. And then the next step was for me to figure out how I wanted to break down the piece that I had sketched out into layers. So this one, since it's my first time trying out this layered technique, I wanted to keep it relatively simple. So I went with 3 separate elements with a fourth kind of a detail, I guess. I'm going to go in with gold thread and have this like almost 3-dimensional detail inside of it. But the painting itself is going to be broken into three spaces. So there's going to be the background, then the character, and then the mask is going to be slightly more forward. So planning things out, I knew that I could have the character and the mask on the same sheet that I was painting because they were separated enough, and then once I would compose them in the final version, I would be able to just position them where I needed to. So I put those both on the same sheet. Again, I made sure that I left a border so I could tape it down to keep it from warping, but I knew that right up to the edge, because of the way the shadow box is, there's not actually an overlap of the frame. I could paint right up to the edge of where the frame is, and it's going to be supported with the stuff behind it. So I made sure that it was the correct size of exactly, I believe, 5x7 with no extra bleed or anything like that. And it was so freeing to work on each of the different elements like this, where I didn't have to worry about it all coming together perfectly clean, because it gave me a margin for error. So I was working on the character, I smudged some of the line work into the background, and it was not a big deal at all because I knew that I was going to cut that out. Whereas if I was painting right on top of it, I would have had to really try to lift it, and it is a very staining paint, the one that I use for the line work. So I would know that it would stain it, and then I'd have to find a way to cover it up. And it was just kind of a nice breath of fresh air to be able to just enjoy painting her and try my best to make sure that it ended up as clean as possible, but knowing when it wasn't exactly perfect in certain ways, I would be able to fix it. Like, there are certain areas where, like her fingers, I made them a little bit oddly shaped, and I was able to go in and just bring the line work in a little bit and know that I could trim those to the shape that I wanted after the fact. And working on painting the character and the mask, I tried really hard to be a lot more light-handed and to build up the saturation and the color over lots of much lighter layers of washes. And I am so much happier with this kind of process. It feels like I've kind of unlocked a certain way of achieving the look that I want with watercolors that I didn't realize I wasn't going nearly to the extent that I needed to. And yeah, I just think it builds up a lot better. It has a lot more purity to the color while still having this very luminous look that watercolors have when you do glazes like this. And for these pieces, I actually decided to keep it for each individual object relatively tonal in the way that I shaded it. And what that actually means is just creating a darker version of that same color for the shadows and for the highlights and everything. And I did choose to do it that way. I wanted her to look very peachy red, I guess. It is actually just a more diluted version of the red that I have for her horns and as well as the mask that she has. So I wanted everything to feel very connected color-wise, and I didn't want her to get too muddied by adding too many like purples to the shadows, which is normally what I would do. And I think in this instance it works a lot better for the kind of environment that I want her to look like. I want her to look very radiant, almost like she herself is her own light source, or like there's not a lot of exterior light casting shadow on her. And I think that this kind of process achieved that. And then I chose to paint her eyes a complementary color to that red that also correlates with the background colors where there's more greens and teals. And I love how it pops out from all of the warmth that she is and connects it with what eventually will be the background. And then I got to paint the background. That was probably I don't know, it was one of my favorite parts about this piece because it was so fun to just let the textures happen and to play with building that up without having to worry about painting around the character carefully. I really had a lot of fun going in there and adding more textures to it and knowing that I could do as many layers as I wanted to build up that texture. When I'm normally working on a piece and I have to either have the character masked or carefully outline different elements. So when I'm painting a more textured element or background like this, I tend to be a little bit more economic with how many washes I do on the background because I don't want to have to repaint all these tedious little details every single time. And painting this, it was just really liberating to be able to just go at it and let the textures and the watercolors flow the way that they wanted to and just let it loose. It was a lot of fun, but I do think it probably made me realize that I don't want to hold myself back from doing as many layers and letting it be as free as this with other pieces that are not being cut apart. And I think that helps me see that maybe in the future I'd like to take those extra steps to really get it where I want it to be. When it came time to cut out these elements, I was really nervous, but I did take a lot of tips from those 2 classes that I watched over on Skillshare, the ones that I linked down below. And some things that I messed up on and other things where I've cut them out. So a few things that I did differently for this is that I used some backing board to rest my hand on, but to also support the rest of the piece. So in the past when I've tried to cut things out like this, I found that as I cut certain areas and other areas are already cut out, it starts to pull at the piece and sometimes warp and bend or crumple areas. And sometimes my hand trying to hold it steady really hard, actually, it ends up crinkling the paper or tearing it even. So by using this full flat mat board, which is really thick, it allows me to put a lot of pressure over the whole piece, and it helped me to make sure that nothing tore, and it was a lot easier to do it that way. I've also really slowed down. That was a big deal, is just taking my time and letting myself recut certain areas rather than feeling like I need to press extra hard and get it done in one cut. And I decided to go with 2 different elements to support these different features higher up from the background. So for the character, I went with 2 stacks of foam core. I did that because it built up a lot of depth quickly, but because she's larger, you won't be able to see the foam core from any of the angles of the shadow box. But for the mask, because it's smaller and higher than the character, it means that if you're looking at it from an angle in the shadow box, you'd be able to see that foam core, which would not look good. So I did this little tower of black matte board so it'll just blend in and look a lot more subtle. And the glue that I'm using to glue everything together is matte medium, and that's actually the same medium that you use if you're painting with acrylic and you want to mix it in with that. But this is also a very good adhesive. It's artist grade, so it's not going to deteriorate, and it works really well for paper. It's the same thing that I use to mount my watercolor paper onto wood board, and that just came together really nicely where everything glued very securely down. It does take a little bit of time to dry, so when I was gluing together the different parts of foam together to the pieces of paper, I did make sure that I put a weight on top of it for a little while it adhered, to make sure that that stick was really strong and it wouldn't pop up while it was still wet. I also just made sure to put them down in the correct order, because if I put the mask down first, then it could obviously be in the wrong spot. So I started with the character, where she had very clear defined edges where she's against both the bottom and the left side of the piece. And then I went in with the mask, and the little gold thread that I had in here, it actually came together a lot easier than I was anticipating when I was first thinking about it, because there was like that pillar behind the mask to support it. I actually just made a little loop in the thread and tied it up so that the knot would be hidden behind the mask, but it would cinch together behind it. And then I just gently let it kind of curl around in the piece because I wanted a little bit of slack there, and then tucked it behind both the pieces as I was putting it together, so that it's between the actual piece itself and the backing of the frame, and it all just fits very snugly. And don't forget to check out Skillshare. I do have that link down in the description that'll give 2 months free to the first 500 people to head down there and redeem it. I also have this original painting available. It's all framed and ready to hang up. There is, again, a link in the description. I also have the flattened version of this piece available as a print, so that is also at my shop. But that's about it for today. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be back next time.